Compass FM and the widest music variety for North Canterbury, Wayne Fontana. The Mindbenders there too, and a groovy kind of love it, and a very groovy sort of a person. We're going back to the groovy stage of all sorts of things in the 60s. Roy Phillips from the Peddlers. Roy, welcome to Compass FM.
Thank you, Kerry, and it's wonderful to be here. Thank you very much.
I've been wanting to do this interview since I've been about 7 years old, you know, so I have no idea how this is going to go.
Okay.
But I remember such a long time ago, because I'm no spring chicken myself, we are no longer spring chickens, but I remember seeing on TV in New Zealand back in the 70s this wonderful group with a guy behind a Hammond organ playing music when they didn't sell enough advertising on the TV, and they used to fill it up with songs, and the Peddlers was a very highly regarded band back there, and so I've been a fan since I was 7 years old.
Well, I'd like to thank you for that. So and the other thing was, and so you're the one.
I'm a very responsible man. I don't think I'm responsible for the success that you've had, though, Roy.
Well, we were blessed. It's we're in an industry that and absolutely lucky to be born in an era that was inventive, and it gave us an opportunity to be very, very different.
Yes.
And we were different. And with people like the Kinks, with people like the Beatles, of course, the Hollies and all that, all doing their own thing, and everybody supporting that, which is a thing that doesn't happen these days.
No, we were talking about earlier on the fact that you're just a group of young men amongst other groups of young men, and magic just happened.
It did. I mean, we played clubs down there, and Jimi Hendrix would jump up and join in. You know, that was the time when there was no separation between bands. The Who were huge, like that, but they were just one of the troops.
Yeah.
To all the guys, and everybody supported each other. Support with a capital S.
Absolutely. Now, the Peddlers formed in Manchester in the 60s. I've got a question, because I did tease this one earlier on that I was going to ask you. Were the Peddlers more of a Manchester United fans, or were they more Manchester City fans?
Well, let's put it this way. George Best, who was a great player in there, George was one of our followers at that particular time, and it was very, very hard to get rid of him and his bottles. But no, you're right there. I tell you what, I'm a soccer fan,
yes.
But I'm a Tottenham Hotspur.
Okay, well, that's okay. I'll let you do that.
Thanks very much.
No, that's okay. It's a wonderful new stadium. Look, why don't we just get in and play a couple of tracks that you just took to the top of the charts right around the world. I'd like to play a song from the Peddlers, and this one here, actually, it came from it was included in a movie soundtrack. It was a scary movie too. Do you remember? Do you know the song I'm about to play?
I certainly remember, and I remember the session very, very well, because there was no tune to this, and a guy called Don Black who wrote it.
Yes.
And came in and he says, "Roy, for goodness sake, can you put some music to this?" Don Black is the guy that wrote songs like "Born Free" and
wow.
things like that.
Wow.
And he played this song, and on my Hammond organ at that particular time, I had Wow Wow pedals and goodness knows what, and I started doing crazy things on there, and he says, "That's it. That's what I want."
So we're going to
that was it was born.
We're going to tell the world that we're not in. This is Compass FM.
You and me, we've got all that we need. I don't want to hear the shallow words the world is saying. I don't want to play the complicated games they're playing. So why stay to join in when the people come knocking and tell the world we're not in? Tell the world we're not in. Why be part of life's sad jigsaw puzzle? As as long as there's the two of us, we don't have to try to make the pieces fit. I don't wanna hear the shallow words the world is saying. I don't wanna play the complicated games they're playing. So why stay to join in when the people come knocking and tell the world we're not in? The world is saying, I don't want to play the complicated games they're playing. So why stay to turn in when the people come knocking? Tell the world we're not in. Tell the world we're not in. Tell the world we're not in. You got to tell the world we're not in.
Compass FM with Roy Phillips from the Peddlers in the studio as well. Tell the world we're not in. The movie was called Goodbye Gemini.
That's the one.
That's absolutely amazing. So they just came up to you and says, "Can you do something?" And that came out.
Yeah, Don Black that wrote the lyrics. He said to me, "Can you help me out on this?" And I had no idea, but I've never. Actually, that was the second film I'd done for. So
yeah,
I did know a little bit about the movies and all that, but nothing about placement of songs or what have you. And dear old Donnie says to me, "Right, let's go. Lay something down." He says, "Be honest about it." He says, "Be yourself."
Yeah.
And that's what the Peds were. They never were pretentious in any way, or tried to copy, you know.
Yeah.
We never tried to copy.
Very, very unique sound. The song Peddlers, was that the first name? Is that your first name?
No, Tab and I, the bass player and I, when we left London, when we left Joe Meek's studio, we went to Yorkshire and started doing a double act, and the most horrendously bad double act. We were doing steptoe impersonations, coming around with toilet seats on our head. We were doing a John Lennon even before he did it.
Wow!
And and then we went to Manchester and met Trevor, advertised for a singer, and we rehearsed, and we didn't know what identity we were going to be, and so. I think it was Trevor that says, let's get all Americanized, you know, and base it onto swing. And I think that's where it started. We were a swing group.
Yeah.
And so that's what made us a little bit different. And
Did you say that you auditioned for a singer?
Yeah.
How come you ended up being the singer?
Oh, because we couldn't get one. Nobody wanted to join us, you see.
That's very, very similar to Genesis.
Is that right?
When Peter Gabriel left,
oh, yeah.
they interviewed thousands, well, maybe not thousands, but a lot of singers, and then they figured out, oh, well, Phil, you can sing,
yeah,
and
that's right.
And that's what happened.
Yeah, it's
very similar. But you were in the vanguard of doing that first, Roy.
Yeah, well, we were coming up. We had one reply to our advert in the paper, and it was a young lady, and it just wasn't going to fit somehow. It's not that we didn't want a young lady. I mean, she was great.
Yeah.
But and then we had some gigs coming up, and with no singer, so I was basically left to do it.
You were there, and what a distinctive singing voice you have. That certainly does help.
I didn't want to do it though, Kerry.
Roy, I'm pleased that they made you do it.
Well, all right.
It's simple as that. So we're moving out of the 60s and swinging London, which must have been an amazing time. And then you became you started travelling the world, and you ended up here in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And what happened there?
Well, we started getting work. We started doing loads of radio shows in England. I mean, we were never out of Maida Vale Studios or Bond Street Studios doing for late night radio. And you do 8 numbers, and then you go out, and maybe in a couple of days' time you go and do another 8 numbers for them, and they put them on at every time of the day they thought, and they had to be what they call 2.5 and bright. It must be 2.5 and bright, but for listeners, that meant 2.5 minutes in duration.
Yes.
And a bright. No sad songs. So I was writing quite a lot of sad songs then, you know, so they weren't getting played.
Yep.
But and then of course it basically took off for us.
Yeah.
We had a dreadful title which I used to hate, and they used to call us the darlings of show business. You know, which, oh my goodness, it was awful, but they were serious about it. It's because of the actors and actresses and singers and people in our industry that got on our backs and pushed us and helped us.
Yeah.
But how we came to get to New Zealand was we'd finished a season in Las Vegas at the Flamingo Hotel there.
Okay.
And when we'd finished that, we decided to have a break. We had about 6 weeks holiday, so we were going to go home and have that 6 weeks holiday before we started on Clubland again. Now, when we got to Tahiti, you see, the phone started going, and a guy called Philip Warren, who was an entrepreneur here in New Zealand, that got onto our manager, Cyril Smith, as it was then, and he says, "Now look, this record of yours is number 1 here, Girly." And so we thought, oh, that's cool, that's nice, and can we go home? And he says, no, you're not going to go home. You're going to New Zealand. Well, my goodness. So we came over here, and before the tour started, there was about a week and a half sabbatical, so we went up to the Bay of Islands.
Yeah.
Just to have that was our rest. And Mr. Warren then gave us a tour around New Zealand, and we played every nook and cranny and the rawest of places, and it was wonderful. I fell in love with the place then.
And that's where it all started in New Zealand.
Yeah, and I thought, well, one day.
So that would have been around May 1970.
Oh, good Lord, yes.
Trust me on that one, because
Yes.
this song here was number 1 in New Zealand in May of 1970.
Yeah.
Roy Phillips from the Peddlers. We'll be back and having a chat about what's coming up for you soon, okay?